Ninde peba samala ni tuji chedang samri taji dele shuguyu.
I would love to welcome all of you. Thank you for joining these lectures. Tashidile.
Ni tanda nga zo tene yabzi rinpoche ka nangshin che ne cho yi ndom shin nang ne ni tongni o ti yi ni tongni de la ni ten la bem dang naka mangbo yubi na ne lu zhub ji rebe ten la pab dang ji ni reba khashe ji ni song sho zina ka nang da re ni chadin nang gan tsuyo yang ni da nang jin chadin nang ne ni nga zo mi khashe ngo sun de pep ni khashe ni chaji to ne sen sen nang shin ba re ni de la nga zo kang do do ji re chaji dengi
Kyabji Chekenima Rinpoche instructed me to give some instructions on the third seal among the 4 seals of Dharma. That is the one that pertains to emptiness, explanation of the shunyata. Especially Rinpoche emphasized that among many different ways to resolve, to understand emptiness, I should focus on a few reasonings, logical arguments put forth by the great scholar Nagarjuna. And so according to Rinpoche's wish, I have prepared to give you short explanations, instructions exactly according to those logical arguments by Nagarjuna. Some of you have gathered here directly in the shrine room. Some of you are joining us online. So I will try my best then to clarify this topic.
ta chue tam je tong je ta me ba xin yong de don da zo de chu ji rang xin de tembe che ge re rang xin de la ta ne nang zul ju ba ne nga zo tembe che da je da don dam ne zul ju ba ne de la pap da de ne re ni yu bi na ne dan da don dam ne zul ji rang xin de ne de la pap da je cha ge re.
The third seal, the one that we are focusing on today, states that all phenomena are empty and devoid of self. And when we talk about emptiness of all phenomena here, we need to understand that we are ascertaining, resolving the true nature of phenomena. Because we need to distinguish between 2 modes when we talk about all phenomena. The one is the appearing mode, how they appear to us. That is more conventional mode of phenomena. And then how they truly are in their nature. That's what we call the ultimate mode of phenomena. And here these teachings, the statement, right, pertains to the latter, the ultimate true nature of phenomena.
Da tondam ne zul de ten la pap ko ba chum zen zo de kan la to go re se de nga zo sem jen kang bo khoro thom ne tan de bar do ne le da nyom mo sa na men do thongal kyun de ni kan la la ne de yore thongal kyun de den zo je za wa to sang ngo ma de ma re ba ne ni zen ta do da de la to de yore ma re ba ni zen ta do da de jom je sa na men do me ba so ko yo na 네 년보 초도 겨바데 다음에도 배 셔랍 차게 요래 네 다음에도 배 셔랍 돼네좀 낸데 이제 까 바로 봐 선님이 비추고 걸로 갑소 네 손난 거 요래 디 공된데 루줍지 싸워 셔랍 라서 만나라 네 달고 요래 딜라다 단다 레베토는 도단데 네 데네데 렙송 말해.
The reason for us to understand this ultimate nature of phenomena, how they really are, comes down to the fact that all of us, as living sentient beings, we experience a great amount of suffering since beginningless time in this cyclic existence. And the cause of that is said to be our own actions, our karma, and our afflictive emotions. But if we really look deeper, what causes all of that? It's really our ignorance, misapprehension, the ignorance where we think that there is a truly existent self and then grasp to that self. Right? And so if we want to then do away with that main cause of our suffering, of our continuous cycling in samsara, if we need to destroy it, then we need to apply an antidote that really can just directly, right, do away with that cause. And that antidote is our own wisdom, our wakefulness that realizes the lack of truly existent self, right? The wisdom that sees that there is no truly existent self. And that wisdom was explained in a great detail by the Buddha himself in what is known as the second turning of the wheel of Dharma, that explains the essencelessness of all phenomena. And then furthermore, and scholars like Nagarjuna also commented on that topic, setting forth various types of reasonings that we can employ, right, to develop that type of wisdom. For example, in the treatise such as the root verses of the middle way, the Mulamadhyamika Karikas, right? And so that's what we are looking at, those various types of reasonings employed by Nagarjuna.
Ko rigba tangne kaje shegi yudu rigba di gogje di chakde yure gogje di kangshik kangka gog yure se du dine keba namji sona chungse menda wale byungudu ni ta gagja mangbo jigi kare sungu yure se du tembar chuba se du zana chokorang rangune yobaji rigba ji cheba chena yang ane keng minyo ba lak do jo ba wa dende chigla ane tenpa do ba se go yore de da wo tenrup de ka go yore da penna ane dundu yobe chokze do jela sambo dana chokze de korang thangbo ne rang shin ji chup de yo ba su ji go sue sha ba da chue sha ba da tenre mai ba korang rangun ne yo ba ji go yore ta di pa se su se chokze se so na chokze de lak do ya yo wa tende lak do ju me ba jela tenpa do ba se go yo wa 아니 제도 쪽제 코랑데 예매켜버 면도데 쪽제 땡도 템버 두바지 템버 두바지 가서 송그래 데도 템버 두바데 까고도 상가자데 텐루빈 어데네 송건제 요래
When we resolve selflessness, right, the lack of truly existing self, what we start with is really understanding what is that object of refutation, what are we going to refute. It's really important for us to identify the object to be refuted, because the reasonings, right, are just the methods that refute. But refute what? Right? We need to really understand what are we after, what are we going to really do away with. And when it comes to explanation, what is that object of refutation? The various scholars, masters in Tibet identified it in a slightly different manner, right? So there is not one common explanation, but rather there are various explanations identifying the object of refutation. For example, right, some scholars claim that what is to be refuted is the true existence, right? True existence. So what do we mean by true existence? Well, it's when we claim that the objects exist in and of themselves, like from their own side, they possess some kind of existence that remains there no matter what, that remains there even after we employ reasonings, we take apart, we question, we examine the objects, and yet still something is there, right? Even after our investigation, if something remains, well, that's what we will call true existence. And for example, let's take an example of the table right there in front of me. So the true existence of the table will be its true nature, right? That is there independently. That means that no one came and created this table, right? It's not came into existence based on some other causes, conditions, but it really exists in and of itself. Right there is some kind of true, right, nature to it. Even after we examine it and take it apart and question, is there a table or not, if we still find something after that type of examination, what we find is called true existence. And that's what some scholars claim what needs to be refuted. Not the table as a label, right? But true existence of a table. So that's one of the view on the object of refutation.
That the Gagja Tendru Songun se that Dona la so Tongba Nye so re Song Yong du so Korang Ga Migo Bache, so Ji Ting do Temper to Baje Kakure. Chedu Nawa Sam Jika Koguyo Mare, now we think to Temper to Baje Kakure. Ana so Tongba Nye Mare Belam, so Tongba Nye re, Kangi Tombare Seduzana, Temper to Beka Tombare Tere. Nawa Sam Jika Zona, Kunzob La, and Kurwata Bam, Kunzob Jichedima, Lagdo Yure. And Kunzob Tendril Jichun second, Lako Bada, Torko Bada, Meva Soko Yomare, Di Lang Tenzin Sanamendo, Zimba de Meva Soko Yozang, any Tenzin Zimba de Meva Soko, and Temba to Bakarankasan and Regudos of those on Langayure.
Then in the Heart Sutra, the Buddha stated that form is emptiness, emptiness is form. Now then the question is when some scholars claim that it's true existence that needs to be refuted, right? What do they really say? They say that there's no need to refute that form, right? That appearance of a table, let's say, yeah? The appearing mode. That we can leave there. But what we need to refute is just the true existence, right? We don't need to refute the mere appearance of a table. But then the question is, well, but the form is emptiness, right? So emptiness of what? Emptiness of true existence. Because you see, if we try to refute the mere appearance, then those scholars claim that in that way we might run into a very big problem of denigrating relative phenomena, relative existence, right? We will denigrate this interdependently reason relative phenomena if we really refute the table as a mere appearance. So they say, well, that's not really what we need to do. We only need to refute our grasping to true existence, our grasping to the concept that they are truly existent. That's what constitutes the object of refutation, they say.
Sonda Shambachala Gare Sede Ni Tendrup de Gada Maga de Negazo Mare Tenzin Gada Maga Negazo Indu Su Yiting do Temba to be Church Ye Mekorang Gaja Masung Bache and Sukorang and Gaja Songo Yure Takorang Gaja Songo Yure Sheram Ningbo Nang La Songjo de Su Tomba Ni Song Yure Mado Su La Temba Trube Tongba San Sik de Salga Ke Yung Yo Mare La Ludub La So Be Any Deshen Na Yung Du Korang Takar Sore Ludub Ji Uma Rikso Den Zona Daerwa Rikso Na Da Yung Du Zawa Sheram Na Su Korang Ngo Rangshin Madru Batin La Pab Nangu Yura Mado Su De Pa Sha Madong Ba La Ne Su Ji Deng De Temba Trube Che Shen Shi Ke Tongba Je Den De Saga Chaga Yo Mare Chazang Gagja De Ani Kasore Su Korang Re Ta Rang Re Tri Rang Re Ro Dan Reja De Ga Rang Re De Yure Di Yimba De Kane Drup De Gure Se Du Ani Nga Rang Zo Pomba Se Gan Ji Mi Ki Ta Yong Du Pomba De Kang Di Yarang Ting De Yu Bi Ka De Re Dang Holo Yu Bi Ji Chala De Re Dang Towa De Re Dang Chudo De Re Dang Songsa Re Dang Pa 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 Che So Na Duljen Bar Du Tuk Che Pomba Nyege Marwa tuyne takbare sedu ko tendel ji nawazam jala gaba jaga yo mare de tanda tonje semengone geje shege yore jazang gagja de ane suta tiro reja laso ba tagarang re gyumzen zo de semji bomba o kawa o laso ba na tanya bare minya bare jemba shim du mishim do tagarang song te gro sozo je suma do suina yang su tempa droba re do cha tempa droba re do san dende ji song ma de su re di cha re san dende song do yo san su da cha re su ta tiro re ja la so ba nang shi me chö ta ga rang nang ga ja re lu yi zen sa yul ta ra ro a se ge re yang song da dende ji ya yo re.
Then other scholars state that the object of refutation is not the true existence of phenomena, but rather the phenomenon itself, because they say that when we basically what they say is the object of refutation is the form itself is not and not something that's kind of added to the form, like true existence of a form. They say there's no need for this true existence, right? It's just the form that we see and grasp at, and that's what needs to be refuted, right? Because the Buddha himself in the Heart Sutra stated the form is emptiness. The Buddha did not state form is empty of true existence, right? The form is empty of its own true existence. No, that's not what the Buddha said. The Buddha said very directly, form itself is emptiness. Right? And Nagarjuna, if we search in the collection of reasonings, his 6 treatises on the logical arguments of the Madhyamika, also we will see that he claims that the form, well, those scholars say so, right? They say that Nagarjuna claims that it's form itself that needs to be refuted and not something that we need to leave the form aside, like not refute it, this a mere appearance, and then try to refute something other than the appearing form. That is, namely, its true existence. Right? They say that's not the case because the form itself is emptiness. There's no need to search for something other than the form, like its true existence, and then refute it. Because think about it. And it's not only the form. Of course, we understand that here the form also stands for, not only what we see, but also like sound, taste, smell, right? All of that array of objects of sense organs. So if we think about it, when we grasp to phenomena, it's not that we look at, let's say, the cup and say, oh, I'm grasping to the true existence of cup. Oh, no, we just think there is a cup. And end of game, right? There is a cup right there. So what we grasp at is that phenomenon, that form itself, and that's what needs to be refuted, right? So if we think about, Khenpo used a more traditional example rather than the cup, of that of a vase, or a vase that holds the water, like a pot. So if we think about the object of refutation, let's say a pot, we can go about in the way that we just examine, where is the so-called pot? Is it the bottom of it? Is it the belly that holds the water? Is it the handle that we hold, right? Is that the nose of the pot? Where is the pot? We can't find it. And in that way, right, that's already is the way to resolve that pot itself is emptiness. Here we didn't search for true existence of the pot, right? And please bear in mind, here we're concerned with the ultimate reasonings. We're not trying to refute, right, a relative, but this is the valid cognition that examines the ultimate status of phenomena. And so those scholars claim, since what we grasp at is itself taste, it's the taste itself, is the sound itself, is the form itself, is not the true existence of a form, true existence of a taste, and so on. Therefore, we need to examine and refute that very appearance. That's what then constitutes the object of refutation for those scholars, rather than the true existence of those objects.
Yang 현진의 삼라당의 가바 가자가 용도잖아 가자라 돈담제 타차를 맞아서 그냥 잡아제 체계래 지기 속 다가랑 태가를 동바래서는 속딜 다가스 그래 덴줍지 동바게 제시나라 수거랑 동바시나라 딜라네 제브르마체바체 수 동바래서 드네셰건지 연구유래라 양가시 지기 수대 돈 담바 동바래서는 가자가 용류 가자라 돈담지 자차르 마저 안 잡아되는 지리 레부유래 지도다 가자라 돈담지 다 메자르근 된소 제지 송단데 소자 제로 저자라 소바 된소 상마 아니 가르소 그래 나와 유마 아니 가르소 그래 밀람 융준지 나와나저래 딜 짐바데 태가르 메바소고 그래 데 메바소고 그래 아니 식 망고죠 거라자 메고 바제 태가르 아니 동바레 라고도 안데네제 손난 그래 양 안에 가자라 돈담제 다 자고래 송은 저 나와 텐데로 메바데 콘좀제라신 인도 당당 가서 콘좀라 아니 가르서 그래 가바자게 메바 돈담텐라 바고요 바래 돈담바텐라 파빈도 콘좀 코랑 사자들라 아니 샤고 그래 그래서 나와 잠들 고도 메베 저 인상 딜라니 토다요 말에 아니 돈담에 원네 지손 아니 가바자고상 아니 돈담발라 아니 소동반이래 돈담발라 자랑시 만주바래 아니 돈담발라 저담제 깨워면 바래서 와도스 시고 그래 아니 덴데 현재 맞아도 되는 거죠 덴들기 나와든 졸라더니 낭매셔로 저러 와서 와 덴데 손당은 아니 레니 레부요래 다 링아마테 양 가르송 그래서도 저담제 동반이래 서나 셰두 단다 돈담 주지기 세명은 실샤 계절와 아니 가서래 단위 주지기 세명 남자 제단지나 돈담 주지기 세명 남자 제단 니도 소소 현재 제고 그래 단위 주지 세명은 남자 제도 아니 덴들당 아니 규단 저 남자도 셰초고 그래 되게 세상 가가래 단다 돈담에 내로텔라 파비용도 대리가서 되네 돈담발라 동만이 레다 말에 단일라 레다 말에 깨지셔 과요 말에 돈담이 임바 시르샤라와 자정 대가서 야는 돈담 서근데 다샤르고 말에 대가르 돈이 되나 파고 그래서 뭐랑신 되나 파나 원데 지제 아니 양르면도 니레 병도 나서
So that was one way to distinguish the objects of refutation. Right? Rather, some scholars say that's the true existence of the object that's to be refuted or the object itself. Then there is other way to talk about statement that all phenomena are emptiness. And here we also need to distinguish between two camps of scholars and practitioners. So here some of the scholars say that it's really important to, when we make that kind of statement that all phenomena are emptiness, to clarify that we mean it ultimately. So they say ultimately all phenomena are emptiness. And the others on the other side say that no, there's no need to add this word ultimately. We can just make the statements directly, take it at the face value, all phenomena are emptiness. So again, the difference here really comes down to whether or not one in his or her reasonings use the language that specifies that we are talking about ultimate nature of phenomena when we refute, right, that nature. So, for example, let's talk a little bit about that. Those who say that there's no need to claim that phenomena emptiness on the ultimate level say, well, we don't need to distinguish, and again, sorry, let me back up. Here, the scholars don't talk even about whether we are refuting true existence or the form itself. This is not the same, right? They don't talk about true existence or form. It doesn't matter. They don't distinguish. What matters is when we say the form is emptiness, if we use the word ultimately or not, right? So some don't add it. And they say that the form, again, taste, smell, texture, right? And they are phenomena, and they are emptiness, right? Those kind of appearances of form, taste, smell, they're like a dream, like an illusion. And there is no need they say, to go round and round using many words to explain. We just directly say this illusory dreamlike appearance is emptiness. The end, right? Where other scholars say, well, we actually need to add this word ultimately, because otherwise there's a problem that, again, we might denigrate the relative nature of phenomena. Relative nature, here we mean the interdependent, unfailing, unceasing appearances, right? They never cease to appear. When they appear, they're based on causes, conditions, right? That's what we call unfailing truth of interdependence. And this is relative. And this, we need to specify that we are not refuting that, they say. That's why it's really important to add ultimately, right? What ultimately phenomena are emptiness, right? Or unborn, we can say ultimately all phenomena are unborn, or ultimately all phenomena are non-existent, emptiness. Otherwise, we might run again into this problem of denigrating, kind of denying really relative mode of appearances. So the first camp of the scholars, right, they say that, well, we can, there's no need to add ultimately because all phenomena are emptiness. It's already given that we are talking about ultimate nature, they say. Obviously that we're not even going to talk about relative because, yeah, leave them alone. Relatively things appear, right? They come to be. We accept that. It's the mere appearances. We are not talking about that. It's already from the very beginning, they say, it's clear that what we are refuting is only ultimate status. So no need to add many lengthy words. Just say all phenomena are emptiness, right? Where the other scholars say, well, it's better to distinguish, right, and clarify that here we specify that it's ultimately phenomena are emptiness. So this is another way to talk about this, right? This matter of the statement of all phenomena are emptiness.
Da dinzo sangma doni ten la phagu yoba de jiba jinya re la da du zamba am ni zin ye chomje ye tabje dang yoba de ne jiba jiyan cha gu yore ka san na doni ten la phab yong de phab da zo re me do ni re yul doni ten la phab ne yul jin ye zamba do ya che da yul jin ko na te ga la ne zamba do ya je ne 남자 니 용기비 나네 단다 꿈미 용로 된저 지셔야데 율동이 될라 밤네 율진기드네 zembaden dogo yure ni tame dogo yure ta yul tela yang da ko tenla phabna riba minda to ni lepte do jigde luru ji zawa sharab la so ba ji songba najin chene ngoden tongni jere ba ni sagorwa tongni korang zaldun zo rang chen tegar ne tenla phabna jeje ane jaza jamba gombo yi ngondo gen de zo na la ane yul tongni tenla phabgo du yul tongin ji tongni ji lo de gang re sha ane kemba re ode tangme do be lo de ane su dang su gyu lan do de ane tangbo semje ane ne song de ane sanje jong go bang ma so ju bar do lo de zo kan je do yang den de ji tenla phabdo yang re ba men do ni do ji le bi na ne ni tanda 디링 가상당 가서 녀마 카시시에도 저 율 동네 때라 밤내 율진기 좀 도야 아니 뒤동네 시에 인스
Whatever of these approaches we take or we follow, need to understand that they all lead to the same goal, that of that ascertainment, that realization of the true nature of phenomena being emptiness, selflessness. Right? There's just different approaches where, for example, some say that we, in order to arrive at that realization of selflessness or emptiness, we need to go via the route of objects. By examining the objects, the one that we grasp at, right? By understanding their nature, then, or the lack therein, rather, we then also do away with the grasping at the objects. If we know there is no truly existing objects or objects as such, then there will be no grasping, right? But there are also others that focus right away at the grasping mind. They don't go via the route of examining the objects. They right away look at the mind that grasps, right? Releasing that grasping itself without examining the objects. So, for example, here what I mean is that, the scholars that the tradition that emphasizes the need to examine the objects, known as the middle way. It's school founded by Nagarjuna, and it's him and his followers that emphasize the need to examine, evaluate objects, appearances. And then when we understand that there is no truly existing objects, then there will be no also grasping at them. Where there's also other scholars such as Asanga, and in his treatise, the Abhisamalankara, the perfect ornament of realization, also treatise on the middle way, he emphasized the need to evaluate the mind of the practitioner, right, of the person, by rousing the mind, that is the wisdom mind, without the need to examine the objects, right away to kind of arrive at that wisdom, at that insight. Starting, of course, that's a long journey, starting with giving rise to mind of awakening, and then up and until Buddhahood. Asanga clarifies in great detail who are those different types of minds. Who are those? Yeah, he clarifies the different types of minds, the wisdom starting from Bodhicitta up to the mind of a Buddha. So there's these two different approaches, right? Again, here in the course of these teachings in the next few days, we will focus at the first tradition founded by Nagarjuna, where we will look at the reasonings that examine, evaluate the status of the objects in order then to do away with the grasping of the mind.
네, 다 상제 좀 된데 제 도가란 나라 네, 제 링드 라서 바체네. 다 신는 제 뒤나 네, 동니 측직마도 송나요 말에 시어지 바로도 침바 이게 찍마스 그래. 이게 선직마도 요 말에 딘레 또 정망도 제는 시진 이게 용어 안에 된데 라서 바렘베렘베 제네 시진 쇼로가 동다 캬바 어 된데 버더리 민도 망보 저송나 아니 레다다 전적 해바남기 따들 대세 잡다 리면도 문도 망보 차야 되다 저 제바다에 저도 잘해요 다제바 인지문제 땅 고거 레베 마다는 지금 말레베 선다 제와질레 용거요래 디 마다나야 디그레라 인지문제 땅 고야서나 요 말에 와나 되네 울루루 당때 공개 제당당 제법 상매 제바 망보 쇼제 땅에 손난 거요 말에 디 거바 준zem에 바레베 쓰도잖아 된대야 말에 다디 강사카시 주인이 동니 이 된세근데라 네 따져 마당도 똑두부요래 제바 마진에 고두부요래 된수텔라 제바 고야요 말에 카첼 제바 마당도 고두부요 말에 아니 고베네소들라 카소 삼로당 가조제 제바제 대조제네 띵 삽도당 네술 야가야가 고조두부요래 네 레벨 남는도 로 해겐선면도 조겐 소의 예체도 인지면이 네 제바 땅 고그래서 너 좀된데지 아니 가르서 고런 도가전나라 산지제 깔때 안테가 이제 맞에 될라데네 야보 제바장 제바땅 제바지는 내바 동선하네 신의 자랑 아니 냠술라는 되게래서 데네 송낭도 대조조다네 다 우메 흉로든서 파제어 나라네 네 제바지는 송낭 거예요
When the Buddha taught emptiness, he did it in numerous treatises, numerous ways. Some of those treatises are extremely concise, very short. Some, we can say, not that, well, not too short, not too large, and some are extremely large, extended versions of the teachings. Like the shortest teachings on the emptiness, the shortest treatise on the middle way is known as the treatise of the middle way of the one syllable, where the Buddha just expounded the emptiness by giving the syllable a. Then there are also, of course, larger versions of the teachings on the same topic. That's Heart Sutra and up to the 100,000 verses of the Prajna Paramita of wisdom. And then the followers, the wise, erudite scholars, expounded on those teachings of the Buddha in various commentaries. So now we can ask a question, well, is that really important for us to examine phenomena? Is it really important for us to go into those lengthy analytical investigations or not? Can we realize emptiness without, right? Actually, the answer is yes, we can realize emptiness without going into a very without taking a scholarly approach. There's no need necessarily. But then why did Nagarjuna wrote so many treatises and commentaries giving all those reasonings? Were they not useless then, if we can realize emptiness directly without too much of investigation and reasonings? Well, the answer is that some people can. The real answer is that some don't need to rely on a lot of analytical thought, and they can just directly realize emptiness without examining all those phenomena, objects, and so on and so forth. But others cannot, and they benefit a lot by studying the reasonings, applying the reasonings, gaining more and more clarity, going into more and more depth of their understanding, right, by employing those various logical arguments and reasonings, right? So the Buddha himself also taught in the sutras that it's through examination, through this analysis, that we gain certainty, and then that certainty we can apply in our practice of meditation, right? We practice then with that certainty that arises from examination. So that's the approach of Nagarjuna, right? Following the teachings of the Buddha, then he expounded on emptiness by setting forth many various reasonings that we can use for our benefit.
Ani gaja muzen che da ya remendo gaja le go tenji nawa khorang ka go mare nawe tenge temba duba de ka gore sungande ani cherum bo che losang da bare uma kombara so nang ani nangla dene son nang yore ani nawa tegar ane ka go gore nawa la rangla zimba shu do gore de sungande kunjang koram ba da 미바로 뭐지 라서 방게 뭐 망고지 네 되는 자도 요래 아니 돈 담발라 동반이 인고 그래 소크랑마 아니 단일로 동 미동바 하기로 와서 된데까지 시행인데 루벤 렉된 자단 근데 시와 졸라서 버차도 요래 아니 다 돈주 세명원에 계지 시기 여상 돈담지 다처고 말아 대가로 동반이래 라브 초그래서 근데 네 루벤 산제 장다 나와다 발라서 봐 레스
And then following this tradition of examination, of analysis, the coming down from the Buddha and Nagarjuna, then we have the various scholars taking different approaches that I have briefly explained in the beginning of today's teachings. For example, right, some scholars say that there is no need to refute the appearance, mere appearance, right? Leave it to be, but what you need to refute is the true existence of appearance. Who was such scholar? For example, it was Jetson Kappa in his treatise, The Illumination of the Intention, clear illumination of the intention. He then explains this approach, where the other approach that I mentioned is the one that we don't need to refute of true existence, but rather we refute the form, the appearance directly, because that's what we grasp at, right? Who states that? That's, for example, Gorampa from the Sakya school and Mipam Rinpoche from the Enigma school. Right? It's Jetson Kappa is the Gelug scholar. So we can see that there's those various two camps of thought. Also, when I mentioned that some scholars state that there's absolutely, great importance to add the word ultimately when we refute phenomena or when we resolve their true nature to be emptiness, ultimately. Who are those scholars? Here we talk about the Indian scholars such as Baba Viveka and Shanti Rakshita, and those who say that we can just directly claim that nature phenomena is emptiness without really adding the word ultimately, were the great masters such as also Buddha Palita and Chandrakirti. Right? So it's good to know those various schools of thought and various approaches to this matter.
다 민다와 차게 데 김선조 제바당와라 되네 네 잡아래 아니 제도 되네 가서 제바 14로 당와 대조 진고베 내줄데 야도 도도고 요바 연장 아니 동니 때나 파비용도 아니 동반이래서나 ngang sha she sha ba zam je dang yi ju dong ban ni re a san chen ba sam ji ge chog me ba yin du ne tong ni kan de san dong ban je cha do gu ye re ne ta dong xi chue jian je dang ne dong ni ko rang o ni ro ji xie gu gu ye ro wa dong xi chue jian da ga wa ro ji ne ga wa dong ban ni re la gu ro wa de ni ji ge song yong de ga wa de nang wa sam ji de ga to gu ma re 데 군접지 춘이 군접지 나와로와 딱가위 땡도 나저 디 템바도바지 송되게로와 나저 코로네 가와든 거네 여래 가와데 템바도바레서 전상 하는 가저 zem바슈 데니 가와들 차바다 당와다 데늘로 제기 요상 하는 가와 템바도바데 각소나 아니 zem바데 말라도 그래서 데네지 네 송다지 레브로와 아니 양 송다 현지를 레병도 가와 냠바 점바 다랑 가와지 덴줍 점바를 가와 코랑 파 휴네 아니 덴줍 점바 로가지 아니 거기 면도 제당 템바 주바서 근데 요 말에 이나 가와들 덴진세도 가와 템바 주바오 냠바지 점바 거기 말에 가와 오 냠바 점바 다랑 아니 덴진르 가와 나와 섬지데 가 거요 말에디 샤단데 지버지 양래 디 가르소르 개박하시 지금 소동반이 소소들은 눈나 소선의 통초가 말에 에네 다퇴초가 말에 내가 시기요 말에 다디 송근 전전 소지 소디 통거래데 통화낭신 제바치는 얘기 말해서 그래 나와다도 덴바줘봐 요 말해서 다 덴루 요 말에 나와다도 랑원에 줘봐 요 말해서 어다 디시기요 와 돈도 담아 맞어 봐요. bak해져도 지고지장 레비요래. 직다 배주당당때 가가하는 시용도 와. 그 송단 면도 마도 뭐 개발지기 송조된 원래 담바인 봐. 지기 송조된 몇 노르대 봐다 되네. 자나 말에 송단 남가 면도는 차거래. 돈도 나와 잠지 수지가 가게요 말에. 나와 나신도 담바 주변에서 근데야 수지기 시기 매 봐. 제주 타도 레빈데야 공바 갈매 지금 도도도 와 아니 다 샴바 돈담라 다 차다 맞으니 이제 제버디 디디 똥니 때나 밥당 가서 그래 림지 바당 태가 찍져 봐서 그래 디지 제버 차송 그래 legden chedang kanji shiwa tsaw la soba ta jagar ji keba pal chaware tanda pyoge la gyu chaji beje na samudana mang chawa keba dinzo tere dinzo teji tang tegar tongni choba tamchidan chawa tena pamna gangsa mang chawa je tok togo yo mare di remba remba chenne ane tangbo nangwa cho dinzo xe nangwa de don damba la yo mare yasa ane don xe ane di chila xine ane don damba korang la yo me kanre re yasa lamna ane total kana lep go yo sang ko lamga rimji bala song song re dawa takpa dang ane karasa gore sanje jang dang tene shiwa tso mara konda shiwa la chonju ze babo o tat kon nambe ane tegar tashi choba dang talbu ngo de tegara tembem nang yore rimba chena ma song ba che ane rimba sha so na di tongni chokre ware de yore tongni chokre wadi tanda ngobe nesung ngoma de mare tanda sanje ji song ba de ngobe nesung ngoma de ne tegara ten la pom gogodo konde ane karasa gore don damba la tongba nire tanyela mare sun sikdi ane peche tang nang yo mare ane tegar tongni re sun shego ba da khonsu cheba mangbo tang yongdu ane mi dolja je kam dang koran je nyam nyong dang o tende mangbo la te ne ane te sun gyuro dene chabare mindo dene chabare khonsu re la kashe da bhönan gyurgyo ji tenju nangla pecha tse sona kaba kashe ma thal gyurpa ji lupen kashe ma do rag ma re rang gyurpa shirang mangbo re da bhö chola tene thal gyurpa shirang mangi re rang gyurpa shirang nyungi re kyagar la mang jawa rang gyurpa re thal gyurpa nyung re
If we speak a little bit more about these various approaches, the first, where we distinguish those that refute the true existence of the object versus those that refute the object itself, right? And so we need to understand that these are just various ways to, the more we analyze, right, the more deep we go, the more subtle and refined our understanding becomes, right? And at the end, we'll see that phenomena is emptiness. But just the thing is that, so this analysis is really important. This way it really helps us to refine our understanding. And here, the scholars such as J. Tsongkhapa state that, it's not the vase itself that we need to refute, right? That mere appearance of a vase, let it be, right? That's not to be refuted. But what is the main problem in our lives? It's not the vase, it's the true existence. It's our grasping to true existence of the vase. And so to do away with the grasping, we need to refute true existence of the vase, right? And in that way, we arrive at the understanding of emptiness. Because, well, the problem is that not the vase, but the problem is that we believe it to be true and real, isn't it? He says, right? From that spring forth our attachments, our delusions, our grasping, reifications, right? Where other scholars state that when the problems arise, when we already identify vase, when we already claim with our mind, oh no, this is a vase, just by holding that idea, thought of a vase, we already run into the problems. It's not that we believe it to be truly existent or not. This is not the question, right? For these scholars, it's as soon as we say vase, right, we believe it to be there because we claim it to be, right? And so that's where, they say that what we need to refute is that appearance itself. That appearance itself of a vase needs to be refuted. Here, again, we need to understand that these scholars, such as Gorampa, Mipam, don't refute mere appearance. They all agree, at the end of the day, they all agree that the mere appearance is not to be refuted. Right? No one ever will claim that when the Buddha said form is emptiness, emptiness is form, somehow when we arrive at understanding all phenomena to be emptiness, they stop appearing, they cease to appear, like they're gone. Okay, even their relative appearances are gone. No scholars will claim such a thing, right? So mere appearance is not to be refuted, but you see, it's just a matter of refining your logic, right? This is like this kind of analytical process that the scholars go through, right? So the Mipam, Garampa say that appearance itself, as soon as we look, we examine it, it's not to be found. It's not found. And that is emptiness. No need to go and think, is it true existence that we're looking for? No, just appearance itself. Examine it. You don't find it. Here you are. Emptiness. So basically, you need to understand that all those scholars point out to the same profound meaning, just using different language. Right? And it's really important for us not to go around and claim some to be right and others to be wrong. Not to fall prey to this kind of biased attitude, but understand that they all arrive at this meaning, just explain it in various words, using different language. Some refute true existence, others refute the appearance itself. Right there, when it arises, it's pointed out to be emptiness, but no single scholar will ever say that mere appearances cease to be after your analysis. No single scholar will ever claim that somehow ultimately something will remain after analysis, and can be found. So they all agree at the end of the day, they all come to the same point of view. Now, as for the second camp, where we use the words ultimately or not, right? Here, the distinguishment is in terms of whether we follow gradual approach or instantaneous one. The scholars that emphasize the language such as ultimately all phenomena are emptiness are known to be gradualists, those who take gradual approach. And this is important because they claim that not everyone can realize emptiness just by, right away, by being pointed out all phenomena to be emptiness. They need to take a gradual step-by-step understanding that, right? First is that all phenomena, there, then there is that interdependently reason, right? That's one side, and then it's only then the ultimate status is emptiness. They need to be explained in these very clear terms. And so they take it step by step. And this approach, emphasized, really expounded by such scholars as Baba Viveka, Shanti Rakshita, was it's a dominant approach in India in the past. In the Buddhist circles in India, that's what the scholars followed. Later, the name for this approach, for this school of thought, was construed as such as the Madhyamika Svatantrika, or the Madhyamika of the arguments. I'm spacing out a bit on the English name anyway, Madhyamika Svatantrika. And other scholars such as Chandrakirti, first is Buddha Palita, then Chandrakirti, then also Shantideva, the author of the Bodhisattva Charyavatara. They emphasized the other approach, where they said that there's no need to go around and say that there's still, independently reason objects and it's only their ultimate nature is empty. Just directly, beings can be pointed out that phenomena are emptiness, without following those various grades and stages and steps. Just directly they point it out, right? This is instantaneous approach of Chandrakirti, Shantideva, the one that was more preferred in Tibet, right, rather than in India. But again, if you look at those two schools. The second one is known as the Madhyamika Prasangika, right? Middle way school that shows the absurd consequences, the consequentially school. Again, the same can be pointed out here, that they all come down to the same understanding at the end of the day, right? They demonstrate, they really try to explain emptiness. It's just that the Svatantrika Madhyamika, the gradually school, right, the one that goes step by step, according to the Prasangika scholars, when you go step by step, at some point you arrive at emptiness, but it's not the real emptiness. It's just approximation. Right? When you say ultimately, it's not the real realization of emptiness. It's not the actual one. It's a kind of like, we can say, the limited understanding of emptiness, the approximate one. So that's kind of a fault pointed out by the scholars following the simultaneous approach of the Prasangika school or the consequentially school. But again, at the end, those different approaches were all taught according to the being's needs. Some beings were benefited more by following gradual approaches because that suited better their disposition, their mental faculties, their way of thinking. Others were and are still benefited more by directly being pointed out to the profound nature of emptiness. But this is just a matter of those students and their needs and what helps them the most.
그래서 나이 각자 무슨 제단지 남자 좋은데래 당고단데 아니 가서 상인의 뭐라네 갈래 의미를 받은도 안절라 쉬기.
So that was today about the object that is to be refuted and the various ways to approach it. And from tomorrow we will look at the actual way to approach the emptiness of those objects and how to meditate on it. So we'll continue with the teachings tomorrow.
라서 니 정말 도대체 가서 상예자용.
Would love to thank you all and hopefully see you tomorrow.
Sonamne damje zebani tamne nyebe dana bamje yega naje bala drobai sibe zole drowa drowarasho.